And I am thrilled to share with you that our quest for basic fairness continues, and that is we want every single vote to be counted here in Georgia. It's as simple as that. Over a week ago, or just a week ago today, we saw the most chaotic, poorly administered election potentially in the history of the state, overseen by former Secretary of State Brian Kemp, who used his taxpayer-funded Secretary of State office as an arm of his campaign.
This afternoon we had a productive hearing in front of Judge Jones, who's promised to try to issue a ruling by 12 noon tomorrow, and we're optimistic we'll obtain at least some of the relief we are seeking. In the previous 2 business days, 3 separate United States federal judges have identified constitutional infirmities with the Georgia elections, and tomorrow there's a possibility it will be 4 judges in 3 days. We're proud that we are making progress in Voting Rights Act in Georgia by winning these lawsuits, but at some point Georgians need to ask themselves, when is enough enough? What is acceptable in this process? How many constitutional infirmities are we willing to live with in Georgia elections? And our intention is to make sure that every eligible voter who participates in the election has their vote counted. There's no possibility that any of the folks who voted out of county were doing it as part of some fraud. And it's also, frankly, there is no empirical evidence to support that's a realistic risk. And frankly, it's a little bit of a nonsensical scenario because individuals who go and attempt to vote a second time in another county have to sign an oath for which they can be convicted of a felony and hand over their driver's license. So the scenario, the scare tactic that some of the attorneys talked about is very similar to going into a bank and handing your stick-up note on the back of your passport. It doesn't make any sense.
To former Secretary of State Brian Kemp, if he would like to be governor, he has to be governor of everybody. Those who voted for Stacey Abrams, those who did not vote, and those who live in our state. And he should take a lesson from Senator Williams, who her public oath has meant standing with her constituents on the most basic act of their dignity and their vote. So I applaud her bravery, and I stand and we stand with voters and their stories and the demand that we count every vote. When Brian Kemp decided to be a gubernatorial candidate, he chose to take the unprecedented step of remaining Secretary of State, the Chief Elections Officer. He owns this. The Secretary of State's office owns this, and his campaign owns this. And so we will remain steadfast on our mission to use the courts, to use all aspects of our campaign on this mission, which is so simple: count every vote. And we will not be deterred however long it takes.